Walk into any bhajan, a kawali, a classical vocal concert, or in any musical classrooms, you'll probably see one of the most common instruments in Indian music, harmonium. Classical Hindustani music seems incomplete without it, right? But what if I tell you that harmonium isn't Indian at all? Which raises a very strange question. If the harmonium isn't Indian, so why does it actually feel like it? Especially when many classical musicians didn't even want harmonium in the first place. Well, the problem was that Indian ragas rely heavily on something called meen. Okay, what is meen? So it's basically that smooth glide between two notes. And this is where the problem begins. Listen to how classical singer moves between two notes. The pitch doesn't jump, it slides. Instruments like the sarangi can reproduce this glide almost perfectly, but the harmonium can't. Each key produces a fixed pitch. Press the key and the sound jumps directly to that note. No glide and no transition. And for many classical musicians, that rigidity didn't fit the structure of ragas. Even Rabindranath Tagore criticized the instrument for this reason. And then something big happened. In 1940, All India Radio banned harmonium from its broadcasts. Why? Because they said it wasn't suitable for classical music, which should have made harmonium disappear, right? Wrong. Today, harmonium is everywhere in Indian music, which actually leads us to the real question. If classical musicians rejected the harmonium and even banned from the national radio, how did it become one of the most familiar sounds in Indian music? In 1840, a French inventor named Alexandre Debian patented the harmonium in Paris. It worked using metal reeds. They passed over those reeds to create sound similar to how an organ works. Early versions were actually foot-pumped organs played sitting on a chair. They were used in small churches and Victorian households. It was portable and cheaper, which meant it traveled. And in the 19th century, that usually meant one thing: colonial trade routes. Eventually, the instrument reached India, and that is where its story took a very different turn. By the mid 1800s, harmoniums started arriving in India through missionaries who used them for church hymns and public preaching. Soon, it started appearing in colonial cities like Calcutta, Bombay, and Lahore. But there was a problem. European harmoniums were played using foot pedals, but we usually perform sitting on the floor. So, how did we solve this? By doing what we do best: jugaad. That change happened in Calcutta. In the workshop of Dwarkanath Ghosh, he moved those bellows to the back and created the hand-pumped harmonium. His company, Dwarkin and Sons, began manufacturing. But this still doesn't explain something. If so many classical musicians opposed it, why did harmonium spread so widely? Because the harmonium solved many practical problems. It was portable, easy to learn, and loud enough for group singing. And there's an irony here. While the harmonium was spreading across India, instruments like the sarangi were declining in many musical spaces. The sarangi could reproduce ragas more accurately, but it was also difficult to master and was also considered an elite musical instrument. The harmonium, it was simpler for the masses. Eventually, musicians adapted to the harmonium. They developed a rapid finger technique and subtle bellow controls. In classical performances, the singer handles the glides and the ornaments. The harmonium simply provides a steady melodic bass underneath. Over time, the harmonium became the everyday instrument of Indian music. Today, it even accompanies performance of Vande Mataram. Over time, a foreign instrument became part of India's musical identity. Not because it originated here, but because we adapted it and built it into our traditions. And once something becomes familiar enough, people stop asking where it came from.